To other news now, and there have been new reports of fighting in the DRC in which the M23 rebel movement appears to have been able to damage a South African armoured personnel carrier in the east of the country. That's after other incidents in which at least one South African soldier was badly hurt. Our soldiers are in the DRC as part of a force that is supposed to protect civilians in the area from rebel groups, including the M23 movement, which is presumed to be funded by Rwanda. Dean Wingrin is an aviation and defence journalist. Dean, good afternoon to you. What do we know about what exactly is happening, about the fighting that is happening there, in which M23 appears to be able to inflict damage on our soldiers in that area?
Yes, good afternoon. Thanks for having me. There's still quite a bit of fog of war coming through from what the events of the recent days in the DRC. But from what we can understand, the M23, which is the main rebel group in the eastern DRC, attacked a number of villages northwest of Goma and Sake, which is the two main centers in the North Kivu province. And in response, the Congolese army, together with the South Africans, Malawians, and Tanzanians, who are part of the SAMI DRC mission in the area, entered into a counterattack against the rebels. And in the process of that, the South African and Tanzanian contingents were ambushed by the M23 rebels, and a number of the South African and Tanzanian vehicles were disabled. And coming out of that, further support from the Congolese government troops and South Africans came to support those that were ambushed, and they themselves also came under attack. And as a result, at least two South African vehicles appear to have been captured by the M23, together with a Tanzanian truck full of ammunition. And unfortunately, a senior South African non-commissioned officer, warrant officer, was killed from the military health services, and at least 13, 14 other South African troops were injured and had to be hospitalized.
I mean, this clearly shows that M23 has quite a capability. Do our soldiers, the rest of the force, have the capability to respond, to fend off attacks like this?
South Africa first came across M23 while part of the UN mission in the DRC, dating back to 1999 already. And they entered into active conflict with M23 around about 2013. And they actually, as a result of which the South African superior air power, as well as ground forces and UN assistance, caused M23 to actually retreat. And it's only in recent years that M23 is reconstituted as a much stronger force. It has Rwandan support, and it certainly appears that Rwanda is equipping the rebel force with pretty sophisticated, not only guided mortars and rockets, but also with surface-to-air missiles and drones. So the force is very well constituted, equipped, and they seem to be tactically trained far better than they were a few years ago. And the South Africans finding it quite hard to get to grips with them, mainly due to inadequate support and lack of funding by the government over the past decade or two.
Dean, doesn't it come back to what it's always come back to whenever we've spoken to you about this? For our force to succeed there, they probably need attack helicopters, and they don't have any.
Exactly. The force itself is much too small to do anything other than act as a stopping group. But you know, when they were involved with the UN, there were up to 15,000 troops, and South Africa of all nationalities supporting the UN mission. At the moment, SAMI DRC has only a maximum of about 5,000 troops, of which 2,900 are South African. Not all of them are in theater at the moment. So, and they're even got no, as you say, there's no attack helicopters available. They're grounded, the Rooivalk attack helicopter. And in order to get them into theatre, they need to be substantially upgraded and repaired. Very little maintenance has been going on over the last few years. And the Oryx support helicopter equally. There's very few airworthy at the moment, and also due to lack of funding for the maintenance thereof. And thus the South Africans have no airlift in the DRC, and they're relying on other countries to provide that.
Dean Wingrin, thanks very much indeed. Defence and Aviation analyst, really do appreciate the time.